Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat.
Resolves.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
Hello everyone, this is DJ from the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, and today's deck tech is Nicol Bolas. That's right, the Elder Dragons are back in M19, and the biggest, baddest Nicol Bolas of them all is only 4 CMC for a 4/4. Let's get into the card. 1 blue, black, red for a 4/4 flying legendary Elder Dragon, and when Nicol Bolas the Ravager enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. That is great on its own. I am so happy with just that Nicol Bolas, but oh wait, there is more. 4 blue, black, red, exile Nicol Bolas the Ravager, then return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So 7 mana at sorcery speed transforms him into Nicol Bolas the Arisen, a legendary planeswalker with 7 starting loyalty, and you can plus him up to 9 to draw 2 cards. Solid. You can minus down to 4 loyalty to have Nicol Bolas the Arisen deal 10 damage to target creature or planeswalker. You can also minus 4 to end up at 3 total loyalty to put target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And then if you finally get to ultimate Nicol Bolas the Arisen, you can minus 12 to exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. I love this planeswalker. It's got a ton of loyalty. The drawing 2 cards gives you great advantage. Killing something is mediocre, but sometimes you gotta do it. I love the reanimation effect, especially when your original Nicol Bolas, just the dragon side, has them discarding cards and you can just put it onto the battlefield under your control. It's great. And just basically killing something, exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. That's a flavorful and awesome ultimate. So I think Nicol Bolas is wonderful, but what kind of deck do we build around Nicol Bolas? Is it just Grixis? Do we play around with Nicol Bolas discarding cards? I don't think we can depend upon the Planeswalker side, because really, devoting 7 mana and then just having your Nicol Bolas eat a removal spell and you never get your cool Planeswalker is such a feel bad. That's why I consider the Planeswalker side to just be added value. When you don't have anything else to do, you try and eat a removal spell. But back to the deck, what does it look like? Well, we can embrace the discard. We got discard on a commander. He's a good beater too, so just throw in a little bit of discard synergy. But then again, it's not as good as many other commanders that also have you discarding. So I don't know if Nicol Bolas fills that role. One thing that Nicol Bolas has going for him is he's a very stylish, iconic dragon, and so we could just embrace the Bolas style, include all sorts of different Nicol Bolases, different Bolas cards. He's been everywhere, and we can throw in some dragons and really make this an awesome, flavorful deck. If we want to go more towards actual function, as long as we have a little bit of discard, we could actually embrace Reanimator a little bit. And I think that would be fine. We drop Nicol Bolas and then everyone discards a card, and then maybe we prey on our opponent's Reanimator. We have a little bit of our own discard, a little bit of cycling, and we could probably make a pretty good, well-designed deck. We could also add a few combinations to this. Grixis is a great combination of colors, and we could flicker Nicol Bolas in and out to essentially wipe our opponent's hands away, or all sorts of awesome, dirty combos. Or we could kind of just try to embrace all 4 of these. I wonder what that would look like. Well, let's see what kind of deck I can put together. And I'm really happy with this one. I think I've made a Nicol Bolas deck that feels Bolasy, has some power level, but is also really compelling and interesting to play. Let's start off talking about some discard. It's on our commander, so we want to embrace it a little bit more. But we also don't want to go full discard, because Nikusar the Mindrazor is just an amazing discard draw Grixis commander. So we don't want to try to compete on that level. We could go with some basic discard shenanigans. We could include Faith of the Devoted, because look at those Bolas horns on there, or a Blood Chief Ascension, which is just a really good value card. Sometimes you just play Blood Chief Ascension, it just wins you the game out of nowhere. It's a crazy card that people should play a lot more of. Or we could just go with a little bit more of an attack discard strategy. This could be the commander that leads our Spectre tribe. Hypnotic Spectre, my preview card that holds a special place in my heart, Ugros, the Empty One from Dominaria, Blazing Spectre, Sidraxis, Nightveil Spectre. All of the Spectres go across the Grixis continuum of colors, and they encourage discard. It sounds like it could be a really interesting synergy. I just wanted to throw it out there. I didn't go down the Spectre route, but I think it could be an excellent Spectre commander. Continuing on the theme of discard, I want permanents that deal with discard. Painful Quandary is a super punishing card for your opponents. Your players hate it, but it's really fun. Scepter of Fugue, again, is a crazy recurring discard. Sire of Insanity, well, is even crazier than Scepter. It's insane. Pain Magnification is a weird card that I just looked up. It says whenever an opponent is dealt 3 or more damage by a single source, that player discards a card. That's kind of a crazy punishing enchantment for only 3 mana. I think it could find a home in something like this. Or Torment of Scarabs, again, not something over the top in terms of power level, but I also really like this curse idea, so it could go down the line of some curses. But of course, we can get some classic sorcery discard. I like Siphon Mind just because it's a great in multiplayer. And Torment of Hailfire makes you discard. It's a finisher. It literally has Nicol Bolas standing prominently in the art. Amazing. And then also there's another card that features Bolas that sometimes when it's cast against you, you just gotta scoop. Wit's End. It's 7 mana. Target player discards his or her hand. I've had this cast against me more than once. It's crazy. Someone taps out and they're just like, yeah, get rid of your hand. And you just look down sadly. You're like, why would you do that? And it literally puts you at your wit's end, and it has Bolas on it. I think I'm going to run it. And then also some secret tech if you're going discard. Dream Salvage. Dream Salvage is a Dimir. It's either blue or black. For an instant, draw cards equal to the number of cards target opponent discarded this turn. Worst case scenario? It cycles as you play one of your stupid discard spells. Best case scenario, you could draw a lot of cards off of Dream Salvage. It's kind of a crazy card, and so I thought that I'd include a few crazy cards in this section. Okay, but what kind of advantage do we get when we discard? There's classic advantages like Waste Not. I love getting mana and drawing cards and getting zombies, it's great. And of course, Liliana's Caress and Magrim have me thinking of Bloodchief Ascension. They can just drain an opponent out if we have enough discard. I also really like the Eldest Reborn. It's a saga out of Dominaria. You have each opponent sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. Again, Edict's not that strong in Commander, but then each opponent discards a card that's so on theme, and then put target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Yeah, that's Reanimator. So wait a second. We have on a single card, beautiful art of Nicol Bolas. We have sacrificing stuff, fine, whatever. But we have discard and Reanimator. We have flavor, Reanimator, and discard all on a single card. I feel like this is a sign to me from the God Pharaoh himself that we should be embracing dragons and discard and Reanimator. And it goes on. Croesus the Purger is such an awesome Grixis dragon. And again, it has to do with discard and dragons, dark intimations, more Bolas synergy. So in fact, I want to talk a little bit about Bolas and Bolas related cards so we can feel the flavor of this deck. And so we would include some other Bolases. Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh, the original Nicol Bolas Planeswalker. All of them are powerful. All of them are great to play. And some of them even work with our theme a little bit. I love it. And of course I mentioned Dark Intimations, but we also have to include Cruel Ultimatum, again with Nicol Bolas there driving people insane. It's great. And again, discarding, sacrificing, I love it. And if we want to stay on the theme of Bolas, we could include the gods. The Scorpion God, the Locust God, the Scarab God. They were a part of Amonkhet and were a key part of the story that dealt with Nicol Bolas, the God Pharaoh. And they're pretty powerful cards in themselves. Maybe the Scarab God fits in the most closely with maybe this Reanimator theme that we have. But we can get even closer to the flavor of Bolas by including some solid cards that have him in the art or have him in the flavor text. Counter Squall, the essence of every world, every spell, and every thought is power. Nothing else matters because nothing else exists. Tormenting Voice, a mocking laughter echoed in Ugin's mind. How many centuries had he slumbered stricken while Nicol Bolas moved unchallenged through the plains? Or Hour of Devastation. Everything here exists or perishes at my whim, including you, Gatewatch, Nicol Bolas. Okay, so there's actually a really deep pool of cards that include Nicol Bolas in some way. And these three are good cards. They're really good cards, which makes me really happy because sometimes when you go down the Vorthos path, you have to play substandard cards, but we got only good stuff here. I think I'm totally going to play a reanimator package because if I'm going to make people discard stuff, I want to be able to take your big creatures for my own. And that's actually what I want to do, so I want to make sure my reanimate spells can target your creatures. Classic Reanimate targets your creatures. Also the enchantments like Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, and Necromancy, all of those can hit your graveyard too. So Nicol Bolas can come down, you can grudgingly throw away your Praetor or your Gigantic Angel, and I will whisk it away from your graveyard and on my side of the battlefield. But now, we transition to my favorite part, which ties this whole deck together, and that is the combo. I would love to have some discard and some reanimator combo together to make just a great deck, and I think I'm going to start off with these enchantment-based reanimation effects that I just mentioned, Animate Dead, Necromancy, Dance of the Dead, because if you combine them with a card called World Gorger Dragon, you create an infinite loop that goes crazy. Let me explain. So, you use Animate Dead to pull World Gorger Dragon out of your graveyard. That's supposed to enchant your World Gorger Dragon. So, World Gorger Dragon comes in and says, exile all other permanents you control. That includes the Animate Dead that was animating this dragon. And so once World Gorger Dragon exiles the thing that was animating it, it goes, whoop, I gotta go back to the graveyard. So it flies back to the graveyard, and then World Gorger Dragon says, hey, you should return everything back to the battlefield. And everything comes back, including that Animate Dead, which can pull World Gorger Dragon back out of the graveyard. Now, you think that this just keeps going and you wonder what it accomplishes. Well, what it accomplishes is that this actually exiles all permanents you control. That includes your mana base. So you can float mana in between all of these, go to the graveyard, bring the World Gorger back, exile everything, oh my gosh, it needs to go in the graveyard again. As you go through that cycle, you just keep tapping mana, and if you happen to have other things on the battlefield, well, you got a lot of enter the battlefield triggers too. So as you're cycling through, we are going to have infinite mana, and if you happen to have Nicol Bolas on the battlefield, well, you're going to drain all of your opponents of their resources in their hands, because Nicol Bolas is going to come in and out and have everyone discard a card. It's pretty powerful. And at the end with your infinite mana, you can flip Nicol Bolas without anyone really interacting with you because you've stripped their hand of everything, and then you have your awesome Planeswalker. Pretty cool. But that's not as cool as it gets, because there are plenty of other awesome dragons that will just end the game. Scourge of Valkus will come in and do maybe just 1 damage, but that's all that it takes if you can just keep bringing it in and out. Demanding Dragon will eventually wipe the board, then wipe your players of their life total. Bogard and Hellkite can send 5 damage divided any way you want. You just keep blinking them over and over again and burn everyone out. Stormbreath Dragon isn't the best fit, but I think it's such a good card, I would want it in here. Stormbreath Dragon, you can essentially monstrous it, which is very powerful, and you can do damage based on the number of cards your opponents have in their hand. It's just a really solid card. But sometimes if you have a bunch of discard, you might go to win the game, and you want to just monster it over and over and over and over again as you keep flickering it in and out and in and out with World Gorger Dragon and all that infinite mana. But if an opponent doesn't have any cards in hand, then you can't kill them with your Stormbreath. But ultimately it's a good enough card that I wanted in this deck anyways. Niv Mizzet Draco Genius. Again, we can activate it and have it deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So we're going to have infinite mana, so we can basically activate this infinite amount of times, and the same goes for Shivan Hellkite. But wait a second, you might ask. Why am I limiting myself to just playing with dragons? There have to be better cards that have enter the battlefield abilities. Heck, Gonti would mill someone out as I exile their entire deck for my own. That would be pretty awesome. But yet you only put dragons in here. And that's because I want to embrace Bolas and embrace the dragons, and also I want to run a Dragonstorm combo package that also goes with World Gorger Dragon. Let me explain by first reading Dragonstorm. For 9 mana, you can cast a sorcery that says, search your library for a dragon permanent card and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library, and this has Storm, which means that for every spell cast before it, you get another copy of Dragonstorm. This is an amazing card because you just cast a few spells and suddenly you're pulling dragons out of your deck. That is amazing, right? Right? The answer is yes. And so how do we win with Dragonstorm? Well, we can win with just 3 copies of Dragonstorm. That's 2 spells and then the Dragonstorm itself, the original one. And how do we do that? Well, let's say that we have 3 copies of Dragonstorm on the stack. The first copy of Dragonstorm, we get Lathliss, Dragon Queen, a brand new card from M19. Yes, we've done it. We've included another great flavorful win. Well, Lathliss comes in and is awesome because of that great ability. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield, you get a 5/5 dragon. Well, we're going to get another dragon. So for the second copy of Dragonstorm, you get Scourge of Valkis. As it enters the battlefield, you'll have 2 triggers, the Scourge's own trigger and Lathliss's Make a Dragon trigger. Scourge says deal 2 damage, so we're going to deal 2 damage. And then you get a 5/5 dragon, and when that enters the battlefield, Scourge says deal 3 more, so we're up to 5 damage, and we still have a Dragonstorm left. Well, with that final Dragonstorm, what we're going to do is we're going to get haste. I like Dragon Lord Kolaghan. It only has really haste on it. That other ability doesn't make much sense, but that's okay. As we get Dragon Lord Kolaghan, we get 2 triggers again, the Scourge of Valkis trigger and the Lathliss trigger. The Scourge of Valkis brings us up to 9 damage, then the dragon we get off of Lathliss brings us up to 14 damage, and they all have haste, so then we deal, wow, another 10, 26, oh, that's a total of 40 damage. What a nice round number. It makes me feel so good. 40 damage with just 3 copies of Dragonstorm. It's wonderful. Now, of course, if we can add more dragons to this mix, then obviously we just go crazy and we can win the game in many different ways, including some redundant pieces. If we have a Dragon Tempest, then the Scourge of Valkis essentially doubles everything up, and then we can get a better dragon because all of them have haste. Dragon Tempest is great. Bladewing the Risen lets us take something out of our graveyard and activate that, so it's an extra dragon and some way to rescue something from our graveyard. That's amazing. And of course, if we just happen to have 1 extra trigger, we could get something called an Utvara Hellkite. When that enters the battlefield, we will again get a Scourge of Valkis trigger. We'll also get a Lathliss trigger, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dragons that we will swing out with, and Utvara Hellkite says, oh wait, let's make 7 6/6 dragons, and Scourge of Valkis says, all of those get triggers too. I don't want to do the math, but it's all of the damage. And it is a majestic dragon trampling win. And so, what have we learned about Nicol Bolas? Nicol Bolas lets us play some discard awesomeness. Then we can take advantage of everything our opponents discards with a great reanimator package that happens to double up with our dragon-based combo package, which again supports a whole Dragonstorm package. So we got dragons on top of reanimators, on top of combo, synergizing with discard, all of them on theme with our great dragon god of a commander. How on earth did this all come together? Well, it's all inspired from Bolas. Thank you, Bolas. Thank you so much. And thank you to TCGplayer.com. TCGplayer.com sponsors Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. You can check out the deck list, which is crazy. It's in a link in the description, and that'll take you to TCG Player so you can see all sorts of prices and you can start tweaking the deck so it works for you. I also want to thank my patrons. Thank you so much, patrons. You guys are the best. I've been really stressed out doing all of these different projects and everything, and work is building up, and what have my patrons done but just been amazing and accommodating. I owe you, patrons, and you got some great stuff coming. I love y'all. Nicol Bolas is awesome, so customizable, so great. I want to know how you would build Nicol Bolas down in the comments down below. Especially all of those Vorthos flavor cards that I might have missed because I don't have that depth of knowledge that so many of you have. So give me some great flavor to put in this deck wherever I have an extra spot or two. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you really soon.